There are some feelings that are just so deep, so hard to actually put into words. But poets, they have this incredible gift for capturing them. So today, we're going to dive into this short but wow, incredibly powerful poem that gives voice to a fear that I think a lot of us have felt, but we don't really talk about it.
Have you ever had that moment, that just sudden, heart-stopping jolt? 1 second, everything's totally normal. The next, boom, you're hit with this painful realization that someone you love is, well, they're getting older. It's this crazy flash of fear and love and thinking about the future all mixed together.
Well, that feeling, that jolt of awareness, that is exactly what the amazing Indian poet Kamala Das captures in her poem, My Mother at 66. She takes this really private, super fleeting moment during a car ride with her mom and just turns it into something all of us can understand.
So the poem kicks off with that initial shock. The daughter looks over at her sleeping mother, and what she sees just fills her with this familiar, painful ache. Really, at its heart, this poem is all about that deep, universal fear of separation. It's about trying to wrap your head around the mortality of your parents and the fact that loss is inevitable. Das really taps into that childhood anxiety, the one that, let's be honest, we never really outgrow. So how does a poet even begin to express a feeling that profound and painful? Well, they have what you could call a toolkit of literary devices to paint a picture with words. Let's actually look at the specific tools Kamala Das uses here to make us feel exactly what she's feeling.
Okay, the first and maybe the most powerful tool she pulls out of the box is the simile. It's pretty simple, right? It's just a way of saying, this thing is like that thing, or this is as that. And she uses it to create a really vivid and sometimes pretty shocking image in your mind.
And wow, she does not hold back. This first simile is just blunt. It's startling, and it's absolutely meant to be. The poet looks at her mother, who's just dozing, and this is the comparison that pops into her head. It's a really brutal moment of realization.
So what makes this comparison so powerful? It's all in the details. See, her mother is just sleeping, but in that stillness, the poet sees something totally different. The pale skin, the lack of life, it suddenly becomes this really stark confrontation with mortality itself. All right, so later in the poem, she uses another simile for her mother. This one's maybe not as shocking as the first, but you know what? It might be even more melancholic, more sad.
But why a late winter's moon? Think about it. A winter moon is already kind of dim, right? It's hazy, it lacks that bright vitality, it's losing its light, its brilliance, maybe it's covered by fog. It's just a perfect illustration of her mother's frailty and that quiet, slow process of getting older. But Das doesn't just keep the camera, so to speak, on her mother's aging. To make that feeling even more intense, she uses another really powerful tool: contrast.
And this is where we see the poem's central conflict, just laid right out for us. Inside the car, you've got stillness, aging, this fear of death. But just outside the window, life is literally exploding with energy. The poet looks out, and you almost get the sense she's trying to distract herself from the pain she feels inside. Now, to create this feeling of vibrant life, she uses another tool: personification. The trees aren't just zipping by the car. She says they are sprinting. By giving them this human quality of energetic movement, it just makes the stillness inside the car feel even heavier, And check this out, another brilliant move. The kids aren't just running out of their homes. She says they are spilling. What a great word. That metaphor suggests this abundance of life, this uncontrollable, joyful energy. And it's the absolute opposite of her mother's quiet, fading presence in the car. Okay, so we've talked about the words, but it's not just the words that create this feeling. It's the very structure of the poem itself. The way it's actually built on the page is designed to make you feel the poet's emotional state. So let me ask you a question. How many sentences do you think it takes to capture a single, breathless moment of fear and realization? Think about it. The answer might actually surprise you. It's just one. Yep, you heard that right. The entire poem, from the very first word to the very last, is structured as one single continuous sentence, just linked together by commas. And that is no accident. It is a totally deliberate choice to create a very specific effect.
The literary technique that makes this happen is called enjambment, and all it means is that she lets her thoughts just spill over from one line to the next without the hard stop of a period. By doing this, Das creates this incredible stream of consciousness effect. It really feels like we are right there inside her head, experiencing one long, unbroken, anxious thought with her. So when you put all these pieces together, the fact that there's no rhyme scheme, it's written in free verse, and it's all one sentence, what you get is a poem that feels deeply personal. It feels reflective and kind of breathless. It just perfectly captures that thoughtful, melancholic flow of a mind trying to deal with a really difficult truth. And the single, breathless, unbroken thought, it carries us all the way to the poem's final and honestly heartbreaking moments at the airport security check. This is the point where that internal fear just crashes right into the external need to pretend that everything is okay. This is it, the moment of separation. The poet has to say goodbye, but that fear she felt back in the car, that old familiar ache, as she calls it, it's still right there with her. And she's terrified. Terrified that this might be the very last time she ever sees her mother. So what does she say in this moment? What does she do? She doesn't say what she's scared of. She doesn't cry. All she does is smile and smile and smile. That repetition is everything. This isn't one real, genuine smile. It's an effort. It's work.
Because ultimately, that smile is a performance. It's a brave mask she's putting on, probably for her mother's sake, but maybe for her own, too. It's this act of emotional strength, hiding the absolutely unbearable thought that her only words of reassurance, "See you soon, Amma," might not be true.
And that's what the poem leaves us with, this really final, lingering thought. It doesn't give us any easy answers. Instead, it just kind of holds up a mirror to our own lives, and it forces us to ask ourselves, when we're faced with our deepest fears about losing the people we love, what masks do we wear? And what are our smiles hiding?